If you were successful in Britain during the 1960s, people could often tell before you even stepped out of your car. Back then, your motor said quite a lot about you. A company director wouldn't usually arrive in the same car as a factory worker. Bank manager wasn't likely to pull up in a basic runabout, and if you owned a thriving business, chances are you wanted something that reflected it. Not necessarily flashy. Britain's business elite of the 1960s often preferred something a little more understated. Something respectable, something that quietly told the world you'd done rather well for yourself. These cars weren't just about getting from A to B, they were symbols of success, the reward for years of hard work, and for many people, they represented the very best of British motoring. So tonight, let's take a proper trip back and look at the cars Britain's business elite drove in the 1960s, and chances are you'll remember seeing more than a few of them. Number 1, the Rover P5. If there was one car that perfectly captured the image of a successful British businessman in the 1960s, it was the Rover P5. Everything about it felt respectable. The styling was conservative, but elegant. The interior was beautifully finished, and the ride was wonderfully comfortable. This wasn't a car for showing off, it was a car for arriving company. Directors loved them. Senior executives loved them. Even government ministers used them. The Rover projected quiet confidence. A proper gentleman's motor, and if you saw one parked outside an office in 1965, you knew its owner was probably doing very well indeed. Number 2, the Jaguar MK2. Now here was a car that combined success with a little excitement. The Jaguar MK2 offered luxury and performance in equal measure, and that made it hugely popular among Britain's professional classes. Doctors drove them, solicitors drove them, business owners drove them. MK2 looked elegant from every angle, but underneath, it could really move. For many successful men in the 1960s, it was the perfect balance, fast enough to enjoy, respectable enough for business, and stylish enough to turn heads wherever it went. Number 3, the Daimler V8 250. The Daimler V8 250 often lived slightly in the shadow of the Jaguar MK2, which is a shame, because it was a wonderful car in its own right. Refined, comfortable, and fitted with a smooth V8 engine that gave it effortless performance. Many business owners preferred the Daimler because it felt a touch more exclusive, less common than a Jaguar, a little more discreet, and perhaps that's exactly what appealed to successful professionals. Not everyone wanted attention. Some simply wanted quality. Number 4, the Humber Super Snipe. Now, this was a proper executive car, large, comfortable, and packed with luxury by the standards of the day. The Humber Super Snipe became a favorite among senior managers and business leaders. It had presence without looking flashy. The cabin was spacious. The seats were comfortable. Long journeys felt effortless. Back in the 1960s, this was exactly the sort of car you might expect to see parked outside a company headquarters, a motor that projected authority. Number 5, the Jaguar S-Type. Jaguar S-Type often gets overlooked today, but in the 1960s, it was a highly desirable machine. It offered much of the luxury and performance people loved about the MK2, but with a little more refinement and space. Business executives appreciated that, especially those who spent long hours on the road. The S-Type felt sophisticated, modern, and unmistakably British. Exactly the sort of car successful businessmen would be proud to own. Number 6, the Rover P4. Before the P5 became the symbol of executive motoring, There was the Rover P4, and throughout the early 1960s, it remained hugely popular among Britain's professional classes. These cars had a reputation for quality. Built like a tank, many would say they weren't fast, they weren't flashy, but they were dependable. And for business people, dependability mattered. After all, being stranded at the side of the road wasn't a good look when you had an important meeting to attend. The Rover P4 quietly earned enormous respect. Number 7. The Wolseley 6/110ths. Now here's a car that many people have forgotten. But back in the day, the Wolseley 6/110ths was considered a very respectable choice. Indeed, large chrome grille, comfortable interior, plenty of room. It offered a sense of prestige without the price tag of a Jaguar. Daimler. For many successful businessmen, it represented a sensible middle ground. Smart enough to impress, practical enough for everyday use, and surprisingly luxurious for its time. Number 8. The Vanden Plas Princess. If you wanted luxury without stepping into Rolls-Royce territory, the Vanden Plas Princess was worth serious consideration. These cars offered handcrafted interiors, polished wood trim, and wonderfully comfortable seats. Owners appreciated the attention to detail. Everything felt solid. Everything felt expensive. And although they weren't common, they certainly attracted attention. Many successful company owners chose them because they projected refinement rather than extravagance. Very British, very understated. Number 9. The Triumph 2000. The Triumph 2000 arrived in the mid-1960s and quickly found favor among younger executives. It felt fresh, modern, and slightly more contemporary than some traditional rivals. The styling was clean and elegant, the ride was comfortable, and the interior had a distinctly upmarket feel for ambitious professionals climbing the corporate ladder. The Triumph 2000 often became the car they aspired to own, a sign that they were moving up in the world. Number 10. The Bentley S3. Now, we've saved something truly special until last, because, for the very top tier of Britain's business elite, there was Bentley. The Bentley S3 represented success at the highest level, beautiful craftsmanship to exceptional comfort, and an effortless driving experience. These weren't cars you bought simply for transport. They were statements, not loud statements. British luxury rarely worked that way, but statements nonetheless. Owning a Bentley in the 1960s told people you'd reached the very top, and very few could. Looking back now, it's fascinating how different success looked in the 1960s. Today, wealth is often displayed through supercars, luxury SUVs, and exotic brands. Back then, things were rather more restrained. Britain's business elite generally preferred cars that projected confidence, rather than extravagant cars that suggested achievement without shouting about it, and perhaps that's why so many of these motors still look so elegant today. They weren't chasing trends, they weren't trying to shock anyone, they were built to last, built to impress, quietly, and built to reflect a certain level of success. For many people, these cars became symbols of ambition, the sort of motor you'd hope to own. One day, after years of hard work, the car parked outside the office that made you think. One day, and for some lucky individuals, that day arrived. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these executive cars do you remember seeing most often? Was there a successful businessman in your town who drove one of them? Or is there another 1960s luxury motor that should have made the list? Go on, let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading your memories, and there are always some fascinating stories whenever these classic cars come up, and if this video brought back a few memories from Britain's motoring past, give it a like. It helps more people discover these stories and keeps these wonderful memories alive. And if you enjoy these journeys through Britain's past, don't forget to subscribe. There's plenty more classic cars, forgotten history, and nostalgic trips down memory lane still to come. Because before company car schemes, before luxury and long before modern executive motoring, these were the cars that signaled success, the cars that turned heads, and the cars Britain's business elite proudly drove through the 1960s.